Welcome. Thanks for joining me today. This is Dorothy GUINAN with Scrapbooking Quebec. In this video, I'm going to make this 12 by 12 layout, and I'm using the March 2018 Hip Kit as well as Stampin' Up's Lemon Zest stamp set and punch, as well as a sketch I found on the Facebook page Mercy Tiara's 27 Days Scrapbook Challenge. It's a really fun group. I'll put the name of the group in the comments below in case you want to look it up. And the sketch I'm using is, the author of it, the creator of it, is Christine Davidson. I find it a really fun sketch. It's the 4th time I've done it. Anyway, here's the material I've selected, what's left over of the March Hip Kit, a bit of cardstock from Stampin' Up, and as you can see, I prepared this foundation page in advance. I cut the back out of the paper, and I find it a great way to use really busy paper. That paper has lemons all over it, but you don't really see it. Now what I'm going to do is start creating the layers. There are 3 layers in the photo cluster in the middle of the page, and as you can see, the pink one I had pre-selected in advance to go underneath my photos because I did some faux stitching there. But the other paper I wasn't quite sure about. The green, I knew I wanted it there, but it wasn't big enough to go on the sketch. So anyway, I ended up using it, and I'm just adapting. And you do that a lot with sketches. They're a great jumping off point, but you end up having to adapt depending upon your photos and the material you actually have. I'm using just pieces here, so I'm doing the best I can. Now that black piece, I'm going to turn it into a banner, and that's easy enough to do. You'll see it in a minute. Basically, I just snip a fishtail in the middle of it. Well, you can do it with scissors. I decide to use my 12-inch trimmer here, but you'll see I end up using my scissors anyway. Now, I'm going to write for you on the screen the measurements of the paper layers and my photos that I'm using. They're not going to be what would be true to the sketch, but it will be what I did for this particular project here. I'll do that in case you find it helpful. Now what you see me doing is gluing the pieces, gluing the layers together. But what I'm not going to do right now is glue all of these layers to the main foundation page. I'm going to keep them separate for a little while as I place my text, my title, and play around with decorations a bit. Because depending on the size of my text and where I place it and the size of my title, I might want to place this cluster a little bit more towards the left, a little bit more towards the right. It just gives me a bit more flexibility. I find I've been doing that a lot lately, and it's fun. It gives you a lot of flexibility, basically. So once I'm more or less happy with the photos and paper, now the next 2 important things are the text and the title. So I'm going to make a few tags. It's something I often put my journaling on, and I'm going to tuck them in the bottom left-hand corner. Now, I had a tag punch from Stampin' Up, but those travel tags are very easy to create with just simply a strip of paper and snipping the corners. Here what I'm doing is adding a ring around the hole, and I did that with a hole punch and a circle punch. As you can see on the text, there's a round journaling box. Again, I'm adapting it. And I'm adding a little bit of twine from my stash. Now these travel tags, they are the Very Vanilla. That's a color of cardstock by Stampin' Up, but it's exactly the same as the foundation page. So to add a little bit of contrast, I'm just going to simply draw a line in black pen around the edges of the tag. I'll do my journaling off camera because that's kind of boring and it takes a little bit of concentration, but you'll see it in the photos at the end of this video. So once I'm happy, again, I am going to glue it underneath the photo cluster as opposed to the foundation page, keeping in tune with my desire to create a photo cluster without gluing it to the foundation page right away. I'm happy with that, and I do have to place a title. Now there is no title on the sketch, so I guess you can put it anywhere. And I'm kind of turning this into a diagonal design. My decorations are going to go from the bottom left to the top right-hand corners. So I don't have much space up there, and I'm going to stamp a title. There's some different expressions on the stamp set I picked out, this Lemon Zest stamp set. So that's what I'm going to use. And the tool I'm using here is called the STAMPARATUS. It's a fairly new tool by Stampin' Up, and it's very new to me, which is why you see me fumbling with this. It's a stamp positioner, and again, there I go, fumble. But the whole point is there are different plates, and how can I explain this? Basically, I want to do it in two colors here, and there are two different stamps. So I have two different plates. I'm going to ink one. I know where it is. And then I'm going to add ink to the other plate, and it should more or less line up underneath. It's easier with the photopolymer see-through stamps. These are rubber, so you can't really see through them, but it actually worked out really well. So there you go. Now with this, I am going to create another banner, kind of to repeat the banner that's across the page. And this is a banner punch by Stampin' Up. It punches banners in 3 different sizes. And again, if you don't have that, easy enough to do with a pair of scissors. I actually ended up quite liking my title. And stamps are a great option for titles if you don't have a lot of space. Sometimes those letter stickers and the die cut letters can end up taking a lot of room. So stamps are a good option in this case. And now what I'm doing is I'm going to start creating my decoration clusters for this page, the embellishment clusters. And when I do that, I start by making or placing the largest pieces of the embellishment cluster. And in this case, they're going to be these lemons that I'm using from the stamp set with the coordinating punch. I used Daffodil Delight ink from Stampin' Up for the lemons, as well as Tranquil Tide ink for the leaves. I found it matched the paper quite well. I was quite happy with the results. And now I'm starting to play around with the placement, and my video stopped, so here I go starting again, but you didn't lose anything here. So now I'm going to place these decorations down, but I know where they're going to go, so I'm more or less happy enough to place my photo cluster to the foundation page. And just to go back about embellishment clusters, for me, when decorating the page, the most important thing to do after placing the foundation paper and the photos is to place the title and the text. Once that's done, those are usually good starting points for embellishment clusters. Now I usually do it in 2 or 3. In this case, it's going to be 2, a diagonal design. And when I start my embellishment clusters, I start with the biggest items. And in this case, it's the lemons. It's kind of a nice big piece. Another thing you could do is place doilies there or tags, but some foundation piece for an embellishment cluster. And once that's done, I start adding the smaller pieces. And then in the very end is when I would add really tiny stuff like enamel dots or even sprays and inks and stuff like that. I'm not really big on that, but sometimes I use it. So now I'm placing down the decorations. Some of them I'm using dimensional adhesive like I did here. What I didn't mention I did was, and I did it on camera, I added some faux stitching to the end of both banners. I don't know if you noticed that or not. Anyway, all I used there was a template from Stampin' Up that is retired, a paper piercing tool, and a pen. Now that I'm at the very end, I want to add a little bit of pink just to go get that pink that's in the photo mat as well as a little bit that's in the very background paper. And so I'm looking in the die cuts, and it's a Jen Hadfield set of die cuts that comes with the March hip kit, as well as these stickers, which is Maggie Holmes' The Flourish collection, which is the same as the background lemon paper there. And what I'm really looking for are little bits of pink. So I added a butterfly there. I'm struggling with this little pink heart, but I put it there. I end up moving it. I'm adding this little word hello to the bottom in a minute. I changed my mind, moved the heart. Anyway, you get the picture. Basically, I'm just putting in little pieces of pink everywhere. And there you have it. There is my page. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I really, really appreciate you watching this video. Thank you, and have a great day.